Winter is coming and an energy crisis looms while the cost of living crisis increases. So whose fault is it? Putin's or corrupt governments and profiteering energy companies? And is there something we can do to fight back? Hello there, you 5.8 million awakening wonders. Thank you for joining me on this voyage towards truth. The great inner light continues to grow and shine, and we become connected. We overcome the attempts to divide us through culture war. We find new forms of unity. We connect to the deep power within us, although the deep power within us is going up in price by the day. Bloody Putin. Our inner resources of spirit and love are being priced out of the market by that KGB bastard. Of course, any war in an energy-rich region with former trading partners in commodities, including fossil fuels, would have an impact on the market. But if the cost of living crisis was solely the fault of the war, you wouldn't see energy companies in the UK, the US, and elsewhere in Europe reaching record profits, would you? They wouldn't be making more money, would they? That would be impossible, wouldn't it? Because they would be saying, we're making the same money or less money, we're paying more to get hold of these resources. That's just information, right? So if they are making more money, they're lying, right? We know that now. So let's get into this story and work out what's happening all over the world, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and importantly, how we can fight back. I read your comments, you know I read your comments, and you're continually asking me, Russell, what can we do to fight back? And that's what we're focusing on. We've got some exciting news coming for you in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to tell you where this channel is going. But right now I can tell you that there are brilliant campaigners in the UK addressing this crisis. And we are going to tell you how you can join a movement that if it reaches 1 million people, they will renege on their energy bills in the UK. And those of you watching in the US, you must set up the same system. We can make this a global movement, not centralized power, localized power, against the establishment. Let's get into this story. But if you don't subscribe yet, subscribe now. If you can't even subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell, how are we going to overcome the corporate elite and overthrow this global tyranny? Focus.
Energy bills in the UK are about to jump dramatically. Brian Sullivan joins us now with more on a story he first reported on back in early November. Brian, the UK is where a lot of things are coming together. Higher energy costs, inflation fighting, rate hikes.
Yeah, and it's all happening at the same time. And what it's going to do, Mike, is result in a pretty steep drop in the quality of life for millions of people in England.
Oh, that's nice. The quality of life is going to deteriorate. Things have been getting worse for a long, long time. Pre-COVID, there were global uprisings, the Yellow Vest movement in France. Ordinary working people have been suffering for a long time, leading to the rise of Trump and Brexit and other radical oppositions to establishment power that are generally portrayed as being right-wing, but I think is a lot more complicated than that, and things are set to get even worse. I wonder if the state are preparing for uprisings by making it more and more difficult to protest and militarising the police. And by the way, let me tell you, I have nothing but respect for people that work in the services, and I see the relationship between law enforcement and the population of countries as being absolutely vital. We have to make sure we remain solid.
Here's what happened. Every 6 months, the UK power regulator, known as Ofgem, adjusts its rate hike caps. How much can power producers raise their rates?
There shouldn't be hiking it at all, should they? Because what we're being told is the only reason for these price hikes is there's an energy crisis because of Putin. Now, any of you that study geopolitics, even in the way that I do, by watching the news, by putting together different pieces of information, know that these matters are more complex than that there would always be multiple factors. It's a multivalent issue. But isn't it interesting how you can have certain nominated villains that in many instances, and I believe this is one such, create opportunity for more profit, increased regulation, when the only side effect is the deterioration of quality of life for ordinary people?
Ofgem just approved the biggest ever price hike for power companies in the UK, and some agencies now predict this could send 1 in 10 British families into what they call energy poverty.
We already know that ordinary people are regarded as collateral damage. We already know that the function of government is to take money from the public and place it into private hands. That's why the Afghanistan war is so long. Some people think that even the current conflict, while I would say that doubtless Putin has a degree of villainy about him, creates economic opportunity through aid packages like lethal aid, where Pentagon budgets will be allocated to the military-industrial complex. In Britain, we'll see similar things. I've got no objection to ordinary troops and suffering Ukrainian people receiving, in the case of the military, appropriate pay, or in the case of Ukrainian people, appropriate aid. But if this is an opportunity to generate revenue for energy companies, military-industrial complex, I find that a little bit sickening. Now, at the end of this video, we're going to tell you how to protest, but I just want to let you know now that there is a movement called Don't Pay UK, and there's a link in the description. And if they get to 1 million people, up to 1 million people will not pay their energy bills in October. They're only going to take that action if it reaches 1 million. So why don't we get it to 1 million? Of course, this is only open to people in the UK, but if you're in the US or anywhere else, and let's face it, we are actually all in this together, start your own movement, emulate it. I know you're talented people out there. The ability we have is the ability to amplify your voices. The ability we have is the ability to tell you stories in an honest way as best as we can, knowing that we are also flawed and have our own biases. But what we have to do together is set up comparable organisations. Let's get it to 1 million people not paying our energy bills this October. And in the US, tell me what you're going to do. Keep us updated. Let's get on with the story.
Maybe having to choose between heating or eating.
What should we do? Brrr, or... That's the old modern world for you. Good old progress with our iPhones and our complex identities and our wonderful worlds and our pink shirts with embroidery on it. What should we have? Or that's where we're living in developed nation. God save our gracious Queen. I'm a patriotic person. I love this country. I love your country, America. I love France. I love people having a connection to the land that they're from. I welcome it and I love it. But when ordinary people are making a choice between food and heat, it's time to accept that things are failing at an almost unprecedented level. And we can no longer call this progress. We can no longer rub our hands together and say, oh, look, AI, soon robots will be doing even more of our jobs. Then we can have even more people choosing between brrr or...
Is it for the next several months, this is going to be the level, but is this going to be the peak for them in terms of the cost? Obviously, it's going to depend on things like natural gas prices, but...
No, they're going to look for more opportunity to make money. How many of you knew that was coming?
What are we looking at further down the road?
Probably another hike next October.
More and more hikes. Almost as if establishment power is trying to diminish the ability of ordinary people to come together, taking away the most basic assets. You're all familiar with Maslow's pyramid of needs, right? Where, first of all, we just want shelter and food. Once people are concerned about those things, they're not getting out on the street saying, could we have a better, fairer society? People are just shivering, trying to get a cracker down their neck so that they don't starve or freeze.
Millions of people expected to pay about 80% more a year on their household energy bills starting in October.
That is unacceptable. The only reason that would be acceptable at all is if resources were genuinely failing. So we'll just make sure that energy companies aren't making record profits. As long as that's not happening, at least we have a sense that we're all in this together. But if they are profiteering, there simply has to be a protest. It's a civic duty to refuse to pay those bills. Don't Pay UK, link is in the description. If they get to 1 million, that's solid. One person not paying their energy bills, you're getting cut off, you're going to freeze. 1 million people not paying your energy bills, there's nothing they can do about it.
And let me break it down for you. So right now, the energy cap, so this is the highest amount a company can charge a household a year, is about £1,900. Starting October, that's going to go up to more than $5,400.
They're increasing it simply to maintain profits. This is where our economic and financial systems have to be challenged, certainly addressed. Because if this is to generate profit rather than to sustain a system, then, isn't it obvious? You can't plunge people into poverty so that shareholders can continue to take dividends, so that the value of energy companies can continue to increase. That is unethical. That's exploitation. It's tyranny. It's state manipulation. It's lying at the level of saying this is all the result of the Ukrainian war. I don't know enough to know what the details of that war are, but what I'll tell you is that if the energy companies are continuing to profit, then the line that it's all Putin's price hikes is simply a lie.
Even as this announcement was made, the energy regulator came out and acknowledged this is going to be devastating for families.
Good news, everyone. This is devastating for families. But I'm in a family. Yeah, you're going to be really fucked, but we're going to be hot, hot, hot. It doesn't matter to me. I spend winter in the Caribbean.
That's because it comes at a time when the UK is already grappling grappling with double-digit inflation. And this isn't even the first time that energy prices went up this year.
This is happening all over the world. The ordinary people of America have more in common with ordinary people in the UK, France, all over the world. We have more in common with one another. I'm not claiming to be poor anymore. I'm not naive. I know that. I do all right. I've been poor. But the fact is this, establishment elites are profiting from poverty. It's gone too far. It has to be addressed. It will only be addressed by uprising. When failure within the system is assured, you have to move beyond the system in order to succeed.
But there's now a lot of concern for families across the region, particularly people who they define as living in fuel poverty. These are people who can't afford to plug in their fridge.
Okay, so if you're watching this in America, you know what cost of living crisis you're facing. This is how it breaks down in our country, the UK. UK households will pay almost triple the price to heat their homes this winter compared with a year ago. A jarring increase for millions of people already struggling to afford everyday essentials. The National Energy Action predicts this will push 8.2 million, 1 in 3 households, into fuel poverty. Leaked analysis from the Treasury reveals top energy generators are estimated to make more than 170 billion in excess profits over the next 2 years. Just take a moment to absorb that. During this time that's being defined as a crisis, energy generators are going to accumulate 170 billion pounds, so that's a bit more than dollars, in profit. That shows you that it's not about simply keeping the lights on, to use a popular analogy. This is about continuing to profit at the expense of ordinary people. That is a kind of devout corporatist fundamentalism. If they were a jihadi group demanding that their rights continue to be met in the face of such suffering, we'd have boots on the ground military opposition. But because this is an alliance between the corporation and the state, nothing can be done except by grassroots movements like Don't Pay UK, a movement that pledges that if they reach 1 million people signing up to their action, they will not pay fuel bills in October. This kind of unprecedented action is exactly what's required when facing this type of tyranny. Of course, this is not just the UK and the US, it's happening all over the world. This is a real opportunity for true global solidarity. 51 governments around the world, including the United States, Germany, Canada, China, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, provided a combined $697.2 billion in tax breaks and other handouts to the fossil fuel industry last year. So not only are they charging you, not only are they exploiting you, your government, which the only money your government has is your money, are giving them tax breaks. They're already living in communism. That's communism. Their business model failed. It's kept alive by the state. You fail. Brrr, food or fuel is your decision. They don't have to confront those kind of decisions. It is our duty to oppose this kind of corruption. The oil and gas industry has delivered $2.8 billion a day in pure profit for the last 50 years, a new analysis has revealed. Now, I know a lot of you guys aren't into climate change and ecological disaster. It seems evident to me that these things are a reality. And when you have a fossil fuel industry and an energy industry gleaning that amount of profit, that's $2.8 billion per day, it's pretty clear that that would have some sort of impact, that there is a duty to redress that system, that that is a corrupt system that's not benefiting you, the consumer. That's not survival of the fittest. They're propped up by tax breaks that you are paying for. That's not Darwinism, that's communism, but communism for the elites. Oil and gas profits reached record numbers in the most recent quarter. ExxonMobil made $18 billion in profits in the last 3 months. Shell and Chevron made nearly $12 billion. Lobbyists representing fossil fuel giants are quietly helping run parliamentary groups in the UK on energy policy without the need to formally declare their involvement. They're secretly corrupting British Parliament without even declaring it. How does this continue to happen? Because they do it deceptively, deceitfully, under the cover of darkness, while you pay for it. The trade associations, which are funded by oil and gas producers, including Shell, British Petroleum and ExxonMobil, provide administrative and public relations support to groups of MPs. Their roles are not included in official parliamentary transparency logs. What's the point in having an official parliamentary transparency log if you don't put corruption in it? Look at her, yeah, we just came to Parliament, done some stuff we're meant to be doing in Parliament, you know, voting for things and that don't make no difference. What about that bit where you had lobbyists in from Exxon and Shell? Don't put that in the log. People will think we're corrupt. Put the proper stuff in your transparency log. Some MPs in the groups are among the most vocal advocates for policies that benefit oil and gas producers. Do you know who I like? Go on. Oil and gas producers. Have they been lobbying you? No, check the log. There's nothing in there. Including calling for greater investment in the sector and opposing the recently proposed windfall tax, which would see the industry pay about $3 billion extra in corporation tax. There are measures and proposals, there are methods of taxation that could solve this problem. It's just no one's willing to take those steps because it would negatively impact the interests of the powerful, as I've told you many times, as you've told me even more times. In 2016, it was reported that 15 former civil servants lobbied the government for oil and gas companies. So people that used to work for the government move over. Hey, this is going to blow your mind. People that used to work for the government, guess what they do? They go and work for oil and gas companies. Weird, isn't it? It's weird that. Did you know that stuff like that happened? No, I thought everyone was just really reliable, lovely guys. And if they weren't, check the old transparency log. Hey, it says here that former civil service members have gone and worked at oil companies and are now lobbying for them to get easy breaks in Parliament. Does it say that? Or does it say nothing? Because we're liars. Here in the UK, the governing party, the Conservatives, which are sort of like your Republican Party, are voting who will replace Boris Johnson, who's sort of a populist, old Etonian politician dude. They're replacing him with either Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak. So hopefully those guys will be like, I don't know, Gandhi or Mother Teresa or something, and will really stand up for the people. Let's learn a bit about their credentials, see what we can look forward to. They'll stand up for us, won't they? Conservative leader candidate Liz Truss received money from think tanks funded by oil companies, including Shell. Oh, I wonder if that'll mean that when it comes to the crunch, she'll won't make any decisions that negatively impact Shell. Nah. I've been paying close attention to politics. They never let stuff like that bother them. Anyway, we won't vote for her. We'll have the other guy, Rishi Sunak. Let's have a look what Rishi Sunak's been up to. Oh no! Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak's family investments tie him to the second largest oil company in the world, Shell. But don't start saying that government and big business collude with one another. Don't start saying that electoral parliamentary politics don't work in any country in the world because it's all tied up with big business. That would make you a conspiracy theorist. There it is in the transparency log. So, finally, some good news. There's something, at least in the UK, that we can do about it. And I urge you, folks elsewhere, to set up your own comparable organisations to oppose this kind of corruption. Don't pay UK. There's a link in the description how you can sign up for it. Let's get it to 1 million. I think they're around 138,000 at the moment, something like that. Let's get them to 1 million people, because 1 million people united are more powerful than any of us individually. This is why we have to get beyond the bickering of the culture war. Let people be who they are, whether that's a traditional form of identity or a progressive form of identity. Let's come together and oppose real power. Millions of us won't be able to afford our energy bills this winter. We can't let that happen. Don't pay exist to bring us all together, build our leverage and fight back. We're building our strength by mobilising for a non-payment strike. This means getting together everyone who wants to challenge this rigged system. It's for everyone you know who can't or won't pay. We are demanding a reduction of energy bills to an affordable level. Our leverage is that we will gather 1 million people to pledge not to pay if the government goes ahead with another massive hike on October the 1st. The crisis is a profit price spiral caused by wholesale gas and oil producers. There should be no more public subsidies for profiteering. That sounds very good. Gas and oil companies should pay for this crisis in its entirety via their record profits. Mass non-payment is not a new idea. It's happened in the UK in the late 80s and 90s when more than 17 million people refused to pay the poll tax, helping bring down the government and reversing its harshest measures. Even if a fraction of those of us who are paying by direct debit stop our payments, it will be enough to put energy companies in serious trouble, and they know this. We want to bring them to the table and force them to end this crisis. That's Don't Pay UK. There's a link in the description for you to sign up now if you're American or if you're anywhere else in the world, Canada, because sooner or later you're going to be facing this problem. And those of us like me, I can afford to pay my fuel bills. Thank you, God. Thank you, everyone. But I will join it, and I think you should too.
Tell us why you think that not paying your bills is the right approach. There are warnings around, aren't there, that if you don't pay your bills, that debt will follow you around. I mean, there's a risk of legal action. There's a risk of not being able to borrow money in future. That will affect your credit rating.
The old mainstream media really getting behind the campaign. You could do Don't Pay UK, but it won't look good on the old credit scores, will you? That bad debt's going to follow you around like a stinky old fart.
That will affect your credit rating. Is this the right approach?
You really, look at her face. You don't want, just pay your bill, just shut up, just wait for the grave, just let them get on with it. And when I say them, I mean us, because we're the mainstream media.
Do you not risk penalising yourself as much as the energy companies?
That is a great point, but you know what? I think there's a lot of fear-mongering around this.
Yeah, you just did some.
People simply can't afford it. My mum doesn't have that money coming in, so it's a matter of her not paying now or, well, getting into debt over the winter anyway. So
Gonna get in debt anyway. They're gonna squeeze this till it affects absolutely everyone except for the rarefied elites that already dominate. Whenever you think the system ain't working, think, who is the system working for? Are there people benefiting? Oh yeah, it turns out energy companies making $170 billion of profit in the next 2 years. Oh, so it is working if you're them.
it absolutely makes no difference for her when she gets into debt with the energy company.
Oh no, I'll be in debt a bit earlier.
We're asking 1 million people to sign this pledge on the don'tpay.uk website. We all deserve to have a warm home this winter, you know.
What a brave, humble person standing up for what she believes in. Let's see how the mainstream media cover it.
Schools need to be heated this winter.
OK, well, apologies there if you missed some of the rest at the end of that interview there. I was talking there to Kim Eldridge from Don't Pay UK, and if she didn't hear me thank her, thanks very much indeed.
Sorry we had to cut that off. It was just too much of a good argument. When you think about it, I suppose ordinary people should come together and oppose corporate interests and demand a government that stands up for the interests of the people that voted for them, rather than existing solely to serve lobbyists and their corporate funders. But we just don't have time to do that on the mainstream media because we've got an advert. Ironically, from an energy company. Well, there you go. For once, we have a solution. Don't Pay UK. There's a link in the description. If you are a UK bill payer, sign up. Spread this video about. Get as many people to see as possible. Put it on all social media outlets. Get that figure to 1 million so that their campaign succeeds. And if you're somewhere else in the world that doesn't have a similar campaign, set one up. This is exactly how this technology should be used to unite people of all cultures and classes against the establishment that seek to exploit and control us. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up if you like this video. Have a look at either of these. Sign up to my mailing list, especially if you're an American. I'm coming to your country soon, and I might do live dates, and I'll only talk about those live dates in the mailing list because it's just for the tight community, y'all. Please, more important than any of that stuff, please, God damn you, stay free.